you are going to be logging in to captest.com/login. Your username is going to be your school email address. And you all know the rules of passwords online. If you have forgotten your password, you can always click on Forgot Password and reset it. At the end of this session, I'm going to make sure you have our service contact information, but I will also encourage you, if you're having problems logging in, if you can't set up a password, always let your faculty know as well, because they can check with their contact at Kaplan to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit and get some things done. I am walking you through the resources today, but I am not a point person to be able to get you access to any of your resources. So that's why I want to make sure you know where to go at the end of this session today. So if you're logging in, you're welcome to follow along with us and follow along in your resources, because once you log in, you're going to be taken to something called your active resource page. And there's a lot of information that's here. One of the first things you'll see is your expiration date. And you will notice that your expiration date will be about 3 months after your graduation date. And that's important to keep in mind. I mentioned before, you're going to have access to the Kaplan resources up until you take the NCLEX. If there's any payment information, any receipt information that's needed, you can find that here as well. But of course, before you would get into any of the resources, you'll have to accept the terms of the enrollment agreement. You know, that's standard practice for everything. On the right-hand side, I want to point out that little chat icon that's there. I am going to give you our service number and some other contact information as well. Just please keep in mind, it is a really busy time of year for us. We have a lot of new students starting the program. We have seniors who are getting ready to graduate and using resources as well. And everybody's just dealing with COVID issues. So the hold times have been a little bit longer than we're accustomed to. So please note that we have the chat functionality available as well if you'd like to use that if you have any questions. When you're ready to log into the resources, you're going to click on the Access Resources button, and that's going to take you to your home screen. Now, in full disclosure, this is what your home screen looks like now. We call it the dashboard. In the beginning of the year, we're going to give you a little bit of a makeover, and we've recognized that students really aren't using this dashboard a whole lot. They're going right to the study plan, so that dashboard is going to disappear, and you're going to be taken right to the study plan. So again, in January, I'm going to show you some of the little changes that are going to be happening in just a little bit. But this is what you see right now, so this is why I'm going to show it to you. So across the top, you'll be able to navigate for a bunch of things. You can go to your study plan, you can check out the flashcards, and I know as soon as I say flashcards, you all get excited. So let's talk about those flashcards and let you know what they are and what they aren't. And I will tell you, lean on the faculty. Since you're just starting your nursing program, medications are not coming at you in full effect right now. Pharmacology might be doled out over a couple of classes. These medication cards are a way to learn your medications. So faculty may want to give you some guidance on what medications to study. But I just wanted to give you a walkthrough of how the flashcards work. So I'm going to pick allergy and asthma medications, because that's the world that I live in. When you're ready to study the flashcards, just click on Study Now, and it will take you to your flashcard. It's not enough to know what the medication is. We'll also ask you for the nursing considerations to help you really get a good picture of the medication. So not enough to know that we're talking about a nasal spray here. When you're ready to see the answer, just click on Show Answer, and the answer will populate. Now here's what's really important. You have to judge your performance by using Again, Good, and Easy at the bottom of the flashcard. If you forget what those designations are, the instructions will always remind you. If you click on Again, it's something that you don't know and you need to work on it, so it's going to bring the card back up in a minute. If you click Good, that means you kind of knew it, but you'd like to review it again, so we're going to bring it up in 10 minutes. If you click Easy, it means you know this one and we don't need to show it to you again. Now, if you're saying to yourself, this is great, I have flashcards, but I'm only new to my nursing program, how is this going to help me throughout nursing school? This is a digital deck, so it's a dynamic deck. So we introduce 20 new cards per topic each day. So there's always something new. And if a medication falls out of favor, you can rest assured we'll pull it out of the deck. If something new comes into play, we can add it in. You know these vaccines are going to be added in at some point to test you on it. So again, we can keep it very dynamic for you. At the end of your study session, we'll give you a snapshot of how you performed with that topic that you were working on. And what's important to know, for all of these resources you're going to be using, your faculty has the opportunity to see what you're doing and how you're scoring as well. And that's so important because they can help you individually as a student if there are areas that you're struggling in. They can see how your class is doing as a whole. So if they have to pivot and make any changes to curriculum, they can do that as well. So all of these resources are designed to help you learn, but also measure your performance so we can make adjustments along the way. So those are the flashcards. All right, Now I want to click over to the study plan and sort of walk through each one of the pieces that's here. But I'll pause just for a second. I know we had some new folks come on board. So I just want to see if there are any questions from the group right now. Again, you're welcome to type them into the chat or come off mute. And then just as a reminder to the new folks who came on board, just please go over to the chat and type in your first and last name for attendance. And then if you're in the evening or the weekend program, just type weekend after your name so we can keep the two groups separate. All right, quiet group this morning. All right, so let's take a look at the study plan and see what all the pieces are here. Actually, what did I do there?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sure, go ahead. And you're just a little quiet, so you may want to put up your volume just a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I think I missed it, but did you cover how we would be able to log into the Kaplan if there's a link that's going to be sent to us?
So there was an email that everybody got that came from Kaplan. Now what'll happen is that if you didn't get it, take a quick check in your spam filter. The email address that we use is your school email address. So that whatever email address your faculty gave, that's what we use. And what happens is that you will have gotten the email that would have instructions. Check your spam filter first. But I did show, and I'll go back just for a second. Sorry, there's no easy way to do that. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to captest.com/login. Your school email address will be your username. You can always click on Forgot Password to reset your password. If you're having any difficulties, if it says there's not an account for you, please let your faculty know, and your faculty can reach out to our team for guidance. But I'm also going to give you our tech support at the end so you can reach out as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so next up, I was going to go into the study plan, but I think I'm going to show you the channel next, because things like the flashcard and the channel are resources that you're going to be using no matter what phase of the program, no matter where you are in your nursing program. So I do want to talk about channel. Channel is another piece that you have, and this is literally our version of a 24/7 nursing channel, Netflix for all of your nursing content. We call it the NCLEX channel, but it's really a place to find nursing content information, test prep information, and then when it's time for the NCLEX information as well. So when you click on channel, you're going to come into the channel. If there is a session that's going to be happening that day, we'll let you know what the content material is and what time it's at. If it's coming up a little later on, you can plug it into your calendar. So let me explain all the different ways that you can use channel. You can always search by upcoming. It's literally a TV guide of what content live lectures are coming up next. There's also a recorded section. So if there's something that you need to catch up on, but you can't watch the live version, we've got your back, and you can always go into the recorded version and watch it on your time frame. On the left, you can always open the topics list. And there is a huge list of topics that's here. And you'll see that these touch on all of the topics that you're learning in your nursing program. So obviously you haven't covered all of these topics yet. You're going to have this throughout nursing school. But here are some of the reasons and ways that you can use this. You might have a great faculty person in school, but for some reason, for a particular topic, that teacher's teaching style and your learning style just aren't meshing for that particular topic. And you'd love to learn that content from a different perspective. You can tap into one of our live lectures taught by our top faculty. You may have faculty that will make an assignment from some of these lectures, because this way you're going to get the content material that you need outside of class. And then when you're in class, you can do more interactive activity. When you're a couple of terms into your nursing program, you might find that you need to review something from a little bit back where you were before, but you can't go back in time. You can certainly attend one of our lectures. So this is going to cover the full array of all of the nursing school content that you're going to get, but you have some other ways that you could search for information as well. So the topics area, again, you can look up anything relevant to nursing school content. There's actually tips on test taking tips. And then later on, there's NCLEX stuff that you can tap into as well. If it's anything live, you can always plug it into your calendar. We try to keep you organized. But there's another way of searching by something called the ratings area, and that'll show right below topics. If you're looking at your resources, you're going to see 4 areas under your ratings area. I'm going to show you 3, and there's a reason that I'm doing that. You could click on content review, and it's just going to show you everything happening with content review, either live or recorded. So it gives you a big picture. You may not know what you're looking for, so you may want a bigger list. NCLEX review, don't click on that right now. You're not ready for the NCLEX. It's really not time to get ready until the final term of your nursing program. You're in content and curriculum learning mode right now, so you want to stay there. You could click on test taking because that's just going to open up things like doing select all and apply questions. I'm giving you tips for taking tests, so that's perfectly safe right now. There's another topic that you'll see, and it's something called crucial topics. I'm not showing it here because the crucial topics are really designed for students later in their nursing program. It's a sort of a class series that we originally did for the May 2020 grads because they had such a lag time from when they were taking the NCLEX from when they graduated that we wanted to give them some coursework in the middle. It was things like fundamentals and med surg. So you might find that it's going to be appropriate for you a little bit further down the road if you'd like to do a review. But if you're in the ratings area, stick to the content review and test taking. That's where you're at right now. You might find that as you start to attend some of these lectures, you prefer certain faculty over others, and that's fine. You can actually search by faculty and see when that faculty person is teaching next. You're going to find a wide variety of ways to use the channel. When it's time for NCLEX prep, you're actually going to have some specific classes via the channel as well. So I encourage you to check this out, see what kinds of lectures are in here, and you're going to find this is a really robust way to help you learn content as you're going through your program. Now I'm going to get to the study plan. And as I mentioned before, when you log into your resources now, you're going to see the dashboard first. But starting in January, it's going to take you right to the study plan because students have found just an easier way to navigate. So I want to show you on the left-hand side, you have this table of contents. And this really lays out all the different pieces. So when you need information, if you need content, or if you need to do some practice questions, you can easily find where you need to go. Getting started, of course, is the first place to take a look. There are some videos there that kind of walk you through the resources. And you also have the opportunity to download the ebooks that you get as part of the program. The great thing is there are 2 ebooks that you get with the Kaplan program, but only one that you need right now. So you don't need to worry about everything right now. The basics book is the book you want to focus on right now. On the right-hand side, when you're ever in your table of contents or you're looking at anything, we'll always let you know on the right-hand side if it's a video, how long it is. If it's taking you to a PDF or another place, you can just navigate that way. So we really try to make this as user-friendly as possible. But I want to touch a little bit more on the content that's here, and I'll come back to that basics book in just a second. Because beneath the getting started area, you're going to have the content and study resource area. And this is really one of the areas that you want to focus on first. So I'm going to touch on content and show you the content pieces that are here. And this is where you can also find those books again. So the ebooks that are here, the one on the bottom where it says NCLEX Content Review, you don't need that one right now, so please don't download it. This is a book you're going to use in your final term, and it's going to help you make that transition from how you're learning things in your nursing program to how you're going to be learning things to get ready for the NCLEX. So don't worry about that book right now. But the basics book is the one that you want to download because you're going to use this book throughout nursing school. What this book does is it really summarizes all of your nursing school content. It is not a substitute for your textbooks. You still have to get through your textbooks, but it's a way of helping to organize the information for you. We identify the important concepts. We have specific nursing topics there. We organize by specialty. I have students who use this book a variety of ways. I have some students who will read the relevant pages in the basics book before tackling the big chapter in the textbook because it'll serve as an introduction and help keep you pre-organized and show you what to look out for. Your learning style might be a little different, and you may want to read the relevant chapter in the basics book after reading the big textbook chapter because it'll serve as a reminder of what you just read and make sure you hit on all of the key points. At any point in time, it's an awesome reference tool. You can take notes in it, you can highlight, so it's really going to help you take all of the pieces of nursing school and keep it very organized for you. So if you haven't downloaded the ebook yet, you certainly want to, and you can actually download it on more than one device. So you can put it on, I think, up to 6 devices, so you can have it wherever you are. You don't have to worry about carrying a book around. It's just wherever you're logging in, you'll have access to the basics book. And again, just to go back, you're going to find that in the content area where it says the basics book, and that's something that you want to download. All right. Next up is the content library. This is also something that you're going to find in the content and resource section. So it is a library. It contains over 1,700 items, and we actually organize things in 2 umbrellas. So if you're looking up anything in the content library, you're going to see nursing school in front of it. It's relevant to your nursing school experience and stuff that you can access now. If it has NCLEX in front of it, it's more relevant to NCLEX prep. You're not ready for that yet, so you don't want to use that information right now. Whenever you log in, you'll see on the right-hand side, again, if it's a content video, We'll let you know how long the video is. This is actually great for studying content on the go because it's short snippets of information that you need. There's no app that you need to download. Everything is mobile optimized, so you can really study on the go. If it's not a video, if there's not time there, it's reading material, so you can open it up and you can read it at your leisure. So the content library is here for you throughout your enrollment in Kaplan. It's going to help you both with nursing school content and with NCLEX content. If you need to look up anything specific, you can do that. You can just type it into the search. Let's say you wanted to look up therapeutic communication. It's going to show you everywhere where it populates in the library. And again, if NCLEX is in front of it, don't worry about it now. But if nursing school is in front of it, it can help you. One more item that I want to cover in the content and resource area, and this is the study resources. Even before you start delving into all of your nursing school content, you want to make sure that you set yourself up for success as a nursing student. So in the study resources area, this is actually a series of workshops that are geared to touch on all the pieces of learning that you do. And these are short workshops. You can see right here, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. The classes video, for example, teaches you how to be an active listener in class. How do you set yourself up for success and prepare yourself for walking into a classroom setting? There's a workshop on taking notes. What's the best way to organize your notebook? What kinds of notes should you be taking in class? You don't want to write down everything verbatim that the instructor has said. If the instructor says, I'm going to give you the PowerPoint, that is not note taking. So you want to learn how to actively take notes so stuff sticks into your brain. The workshop on studying lets you know how long study sessions should be, how you should set up time between study sessions to allow information to sink into your brain. There's a workshop on remembering techniques, especially in your first nursing school classes. There's a lot of stuff that you need to memorize, so this is going to help you get there. One on reading textbooks. If you've ever accidentally just highlighted an entire page, we'll tell you why that's not so good and give you some tips on how to navigate through textbooks. And then 2 workshops that are really helpful right now, time management and stress reduction. We're just living in such different times. Everything is organized a little differently. So these 2 workshops can help you navigate what you're doing in nursing school in perspective with everything else that you have going on. The preparing for the exam workshop is a little bit longer. That's 25 minutes long, but it talks through test anxiety. It talks through how to set up study sessions for an exam, what kinds of things you should be doing. So these workshops you can come back to again and again. We have tapped into the latest in learning science, really think about how the brain processes information, and that's where all of our suggestions come from. So definitely check this area out and make sure you watch these videos. And then there's also a section on understanding why remediation is important. And I encourage you to take a look at this because we're going to talk a lot about practice tests that you're going to take and graded tests that you're going to take as part of this program. But what's so important is not just taking a test or even doing a series of 10 practice questions. It's the remediation that you do afterwards. And I'm sure you're all very good. You've got your class time worked out. If you've got clinicals, you've got that marked out as well. If you have exams coming up, you probably have that plugged into your calendar. You may even have study sessions plugged into your calendar to get ready for those exams. But how many of you actually have study time after the test with the remediation blocked out? Probably not. We're going to talk a lot about remediation in just a little bit and what kinds of remediation you should be doing. And folks, I can't stress enough how important remediation is as part of this process because that's where learning really comes into play. The test is just going to mark how you're doing at that point in time. It's the work that you do afterwards where you're really going to improve. So understanding why remediation is important, you should consult that area and read it through this section as well. And then finally, we have the dosage and calculation section. You're going to recognize very quickly that basic math skills are important. So if you need a math refresher, this is where you can come. It's actually a series of 3 workshops. The first is a review of basic math. And then the second and third workshops cover how to do calculations, dimensional analysis, and the rational proportion method. So you can come back to these again and again and again. So this is your math refresher that's here. So that's all of the information that is under that study content and study resource area. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I strongly encourage you to do that. Any questions about the content and study resource section?
No.
All right, thank you for answering for the group. All right, next up I want to get into the test taking area because there are 2 kinds of tests that are coming up here. We have the focused review practice test, and that's what I'm going to touch on first. because this focus review test area is really a practice area for you. These are shorter tests. They're very content specific. They're designed to be done in about a half an hour, just over a half an hour. And you have the option of both leaning on our stock list of tests and creating your own focus test as well. So I'm going to start with that stock list of tests that's here. And your faculty is definitely going to give you some guidance. So I don't want you to go in here and just start taking things just because you feel like doing it. And I think this might be where some of your assignments are coming up. You might see some of these things on your syllabus. But these are, again, shorter test design, just a little bit over a half hour to do them. If you really want to check out one and see how it works, that Basic Math A is a great one to get a start with. When you start looking at all of the topics, you're going to see that these touch on all of the different titles that you're going to be covering in your nursing program and all the different categories that are here. All right, so you've got the topics that are here, just as a show, and then I want to show you how the test actually works. So when you log in, you'll get some instructions, then it's going to take you into the testing function. And what's important to see is that the test functionality you see here actually mimics what you're going to see on the NCLEX. So we're going to get you used to that computer testing. I want you to be assured, though, these are not NCLEX passing level questions yet. You're not ready for that yet. These are at the content level, at the level you're at right now, but it's going to give you that look and feel of the test, including a drop-down calculator. You might be accustomed to using a calculator on your phone, or you've got a calculator on your desktop, but this calculator is really going to give you that functionality of how the test works. So anything that we have here, you want to use it because that's what's going to happen when you have those important graded tests coming up. And then, of course, once the test is over, that's when the remediation kicks in. So I want to walk through the different pieces of remediation that are here. When it's time to review, you're certainly going to see how many you got right and wrong, what your percentage is. You're also going to see your answer changes, and that's important because you can learn a lot about your testing habits by looking at answer changes. We know you want to get better at content. You're going to start learning critical thinking as you go through the program. But with the answer changes that are here, are you the kind of person who sometimes has questions that you answered correctly, but then started second guessing yourself and ended up putting down a wrong answer? And then you get really mad at yourself when you get your results back. How did that happen? How did you get sidetracked? So we're going to start to help keep you on the straight track so you'll be less inclined to do that. Now, sometimes you have answer choices that are incorrect, but you changed it to the correct answer, and that's great. You caught your mistake. But why did you make that mistake in the first place? We want to make sure that we can catch it early on. Then if you had things that were incorrect and you just changed it to an incorrect answer, this is where you have to recognize there's a content gap that's here. And because of that, you want to make sure that you're starting to study that content area. So again, you can get some of that backstory from where you got the answer choices to help you get better. You'll see the questions again. Excuse me. Triscuit. I had a Triscuit before we started this today. You'll see the question. You're going to learn a little bit about the question, and then you're going to see on the right-hand side where we're going to give you the opportunity to review the question and remediation. And to the left, you see where we actually have that remediation column. We're going to track all of your remediation time, and we're going to talk a little bit more about remediation time in just a second. It's important for you to know you need to remediate for every question that you do, not just the ones that you got wrong. I know that makes sense because you got it wrong, you want to learn from your mistake, but even for the ones that you got right. And the reason for that is you may have just taken a lucky guess. You may have gotten it right, but for the wrong reason. So in this sense, we want to make sure that we're putting you on the right track. So you want to build those good habits of remediating for every question that you do. When it's time to remediate, you're going to see the question and the answer choice again. But it's not enough just to kind of look at that. And then the next thing is going to be going over to that summary. And a lot of times what we want to do is we just start reading through, oh, I got number, wrong, that's what I picked. Why was it wrong? And then you move on. What you want to do is you actually want to be an active participant in this remediation process. So you see that answer choice number 1 is incorrect. Tell yourself why it's incorrect before you read our summary. Answer choice 2 is incorrect, the same thing. The answer choice 3 is correct. Why is it correct? And read through the rationale after you've told yourself why it's correct. By doing this, you can spot check and see where your logic is on track and where it's off track, and that's going to help you figure out what pieces you need to work on next. So it's really important, again, to break it down and to be an active participant, to think through things and not just read through, because when you just read through things quickly, it doesn't sink into your brain. And one of the other tools that we have here is something called the alternate question. And when you click on the alternate question, what it's going to do is actually take the question right here and put it into simpler format. We've all had those questions where you know every word in the question stem, but for some reason, you just can't figure out the gist of the question. This will allow you to see at the heart of the question and get to the topic. And especially as you're new to your nursing program and new to nursing classes, it's a great way of really getting at the heart of what's behind the question. So it's another tool that is there for you. And then the info section would let you know what part of the client need category, what kind of difficulty level. It's just going to give you a little bit more insight into the question. And you might start to see some trends. There might be certain topics or kinds of questions that trip you up. And again, that's going to help you be a better test taker. Being better with tests, it's a three-pronged approach. You absolutely want to know that content. You're going to learn critical thinking as you go through the program. But the other thing is thinking about your test-taking habits. Where you have bad habits, you want to turn those into good habits so that you're more inclined to get things right the next time you have a testing experience. We haven't even remediated yet. Next up, you click on Remediate Topic, and that's when it takes you into the topic behind the question. And so we organize the remediation topic for you, again, to let you know what information you needed to know to get this question correct. We give you a brief review or overview of the topic at hand. We take you into the nursing focus and concepts, which is really going to touch on the nursing process, which is going to be your bread and butter in a couple of weeks. We'll give you some.
I had one, but I broke it. ¿Qué metiche? No.
Hi, someone have a question? And then a lot of times there'll be a short content video here as well. And these are the content videos that actually come from that content library that you saw before, but you don't have to hunt around for the information. What's great about having all of this information right here at your fingertips, you don't have to hunt around in your textbooks or look it up. It comes right to you. So the goal of this is to make your remediation really effective and efficient, and to make sure that you're spending your time doing the right things and not looking around for things and wasting time. So as I mentioned before, it's going to show you then, your faculty will be able to see if you review the questions, and you want to make sure that you're reviewing all of the questions, and your remediation time will be logged for you as well. So again, keeps everything organized for you. So that's the focus review tests, and that's the standard list of tests that are here, but you also have the opportunity to do some customization. And think about how valuable customization is. You might have a major exam coming up, and you feel pretty good about 80% of the exam, but you'd really like to test yourself in a safe environment before that big graded exam comes up. You can do that here in the focus review area. You're going to have the opportunity to go in and select the topics that you want. But even before doing that, you can decide if you want to use all fresh questions or if you'd like to recycle questions. You might be touching on a topic that you did weeks ago, and since then you've done a lot of work, so it's okay to recycle those questions. You then can select the topic or topics that you want, and then get very granular and select specific subtopics that you want. Based on your selections, we'll let you know how many questions you have, and you can set up your test. And so this gives you the opportunity, again, to test yourself in a safe environment before that graded exam comes up. Or maybe you had a big exam that you took and you did well on a lot of it, but there were some parts that you didn't do so well on, so you want to go back and do some work and then retest yourself again before the next graded exam comes up. And then at the end, you're going to have the opportunity, of course, to go back and do the remediation for your focus review tests. And there's also something called a test reflection tool, and I want you to download that, and I want you to take a look through it and read through it every time you're remediating. The reason for that is it's going to ask you things like, were you distracted by anything on the test? How was your pacing on the test? Were you rushing? Again, it's going to let you think about your test-taking habits and see if there are some patterns that you can find, so you know some things physically that you need to work on to prepare yourself for your next test-taking experience. So we really cover the test experience in 360 and cover that remediation in 360 as well, to give you a lot of different perspective to help you improve from a number of different ways. So faculty will give you some guidance on how to use these focused review tests, but keep in mind that the tests are available to you 24/7. Now you can retake these as many times as you like, but these tests are not about getting a 100% on each of them. There are times it might make sense to take a test a second time. You did it before, you did a lot of studying and you want to recheck yourself, that's okay. But if you start taking that same test 3, 4, or 5 times, you're not really having an authentic testing experience. You're kind of memorizing what you put down last time. It's really not an efficient use of your time. You're not learning anything from it. So while the functionality is there, it's going to be rare that you use it. But you are going to use all of the detailed rationales, and you're definitely going to remediate for all questions. So I will pause there just to see if there are any questions about the focused review test. All right. Next up then is the integrated tests. Now the integrated tests are the graded tests. They are secured, proctored exams. And I know that school is very different right now. We're not on campus all the time. So I'm not going to go into great detail here. Faculty is going to let you know how and when these tests are going to be used. Available scheduled tests, you'll only see them once faculty has scheduled a testing experience for you. I want to talk a little bit about the remediation here and just a little bit about the testing experience. Since you're new to your nursing program, we're going to hope we're back on campus in a short while, maybe a term or two down the road. So what I do want to tell you is the first time you take one of these integrated tests, you're going to be curious. You're going to want to talk to one another about how you did. And if you're finding that you get different answers, you might be a little worried, but it's because you're seeing different questions. We scramble the questions. We want to protect the academic integrity of these questions. So these are tests that you're not going to take at home. You're only going to take them once. You're going to sit down and take the exam. It's going to be graded. It's going to be proctored. And at some point, you may need to download something called Respondus if you're using your own computer. I only mention this because if it comes down the road, faculty is going to give you some more guidance, but it's totally legitimate, and it's something that just prohibits test takers from doing anything else while the test is going on. But I do want to touch on remediation. And remediation, when you're looking at your results, it's going to look slightly similar to what you saw on the focused review test. We'll still gauge your answer changes, make sure that you're reviewing all of the questions. But what's important to keep in mind is that you are not going to see the questions here. For focused review test, we showed you the question and the answer choices as part of the learning process and the practice process. But because these are secured exams, we're not going to show you the question again. We're protecting that question, but we're also protecting you. You guys know this. Whenever you have a graded exam, you're never going to see those same test questions on another exam, but you're going to see the topic again. So we're going to be like your nursing school parent here and take you right to the topic. So we're going to take you right to those, all the information that you need behind the question. So it's important to keep in mind that when it's time to review your overall performance, we're going to do that test reflection tool again. But I want you to remember with the remediation, we give you 3 to 4 levels. There's a brief review that's going to be a topic summary. The nursing focus and concepts will talk about that topic and how it relates to everything from the planning, the implementation, the evaluation, so all the parts of the nursing process. When we talk about interdisciplinary material, that's going to be the 360 in the round. That's going to cover things like diagnostic testing, expected outcomes, risk factors, so everything you need to think about concerning that topic. And then again, a lot of times you'll see a content video as well. Now, when I talked about scheduling for remediation before, our recommendation to you is that you remediate a minimum of 1 minute for all questions. Now, that 1 minute is usually for the questions you get right and get right for the right reason. When you are remediating, you know that for most questions, it's going to take a little bit longer. So think about it. If you have a 30-question test, that's a minimum of 30 minutes of remediation time that you're scheduling afterwards. Most times, it's probably going to take closer to 45 minutes. If you have a 60-question test, that's a minimum of an hour of remediation time. And the best remediation time, folks, is done within 24 hours of taking that test. So if you know you have an exam coming up on your calendar, within 24 hours of that test-taking experience, carve out time to do that remediation. That is how you learn. That's how it gets locked in. And that's going to prevent you from having to cram the next time you have an exam and not feeling secure about the content that you know. Trust me, you're actually saving yourself time by doing the remediation the right way. In the focus review tests, you're going to see the question and the answers again. In the integrated test, you're not, and that's very intentional. So again, faculty is going to give you more guidance about when these are going to be scheduled, but I just want to talk about the differences. These integrated tests, they're more comprehensive in nature. Where the focused review are shorter snippets of concentrated content, this is going to be more broad spectrum. A lot of times you'll have these at the end of a term, maybe before your big final exam, as a way to help that gateway leading to that final exam. All right, so any questions about the integrated tests?
No.
No.
All right, just 2 more little pieces to go through. The next is the clinical resources, and this has 2 categories in here. There are client simulations and clinical skills. The good thing is the client simulations, hands off, you don't need to worry about those right now. These are a form of case studies. You guys are going to be using the iHuman resources, so focus on that and let faculty guide you through that. How, when, and even if you use these client sims, faculty will let you know, so there's no reason to delve into it. You're not even ready for them yet, because again, they're case studies, but you haven't gone through your full nursing program yet. But the clinical skills videos, these you can check out because I'm not sure what all of your backgrounds are. If some of you have clinical experience, if some of you don't, if you're a little rusty. This is a video series that walks through everything you're going to be doing in clinical settings, from washing your hands, bathing a client, moving a client, NG tubes, blood pressure, you name it. So a lot of times seeing something before you go do it just makes you feel a little bit better about the process. You're going to learn the most up-to-date information from your faculty and clinical staff. It's just a nice library to have to get you used to the things in the clinical setting. So that's what that's all about. Those are the clinical skills videos. And those you can definitely look at whenever you want. All right, and then finally is the NCLEX prep area. And here's the good news. We're not talking about it today because you are not ready for this yet. When it's time in your final term to start preparing for the NCLEX, I will come back and talk to you about all of the pieces that are here. So it's here waiting for you. It's saying, come and get me, but you don't have to worry about anything there yet. Finally, I want to touch on overall performance. This is something once you start using these resources, you'll be able to take a peek at, and it's going to show you, we're very focused right now on making sure you have the right content you have and how it relates to everything that you're doing in your nursing program. But we're also keeping an eye out on how things are relating to your scope of practice and, kind of keeping an eye on how you're performing against the client need categories, which will be reflective in the NCLEX. So more to come on that, but it just gives you a good snapshot performance. So we've just covered a lot of information. If you need a little reminder of what to work on, go to that getting started area and that content and study resource area. And that's really the first place to go. And that's going to be your one-stop shopping for all of your content needs. So that's a good area to focus on. Your faculty is going to give you guidance on the test taking section and let you know if there are integrated tests coming up and if they're going to assign any focused review tests. But again, keep in mind that you've got the opportunity to do those focused review tests as well as customize. And then finally, not only are you part of Hudson's family right now, but you're part of the Kaplan family. So you're welcome to engage with us on social. You can find us at Kaplan Nursing on Facebook. You can find us on LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, Twitter, wherever social is. We've got cool contests, questions of the day. So if you're looking for a little bit more engagement outside of school, you can reach out to us as well. And then finally, just to make sure you have our contact information, you can email us at integrated.support@kaplan.com. Student support hotline is 877-572-8457. But again, hold times are a little bit longer this time of year. So from your active resource page, you can use the chat. And if you're really having some difficulties with access, please always let your faculty know because sometimes they can do some stuff behind the scenes or at least to alert them that you can't take a test or something's going on. It's really important to keep them informed. So I will pause there just to see if there are any questions from anybody. And again, I just want to make sure that everybody did sign into the chat with first and last name. And if you're in the weekend program, if you put weekend after your name.
Hello, I have a question.
Sure.
The teacher says we're going to find the test at 10:30. Where are we going to find it?
So for the test, I know there's a test on, I think she said December 10th is your first test.
Yeah, Thursday.
Okay, and you can check when, she'll probably let you know it's there. As soon as she opens up the test, that's when it's going to show under the active tests, under integrated tests. So you're going to get a little bit more information about that. That's why they wanted us to do this session today, so you knew where the pieces were. But your faculty has to set that test up for you. And usually that testing window is only about an hour before the test begins.